Hey y'all, this is Terry with Chasing Giants TV. I'm here on the farm getting the coonless feeder set up. Opening day here in Kentucky is just in a couple days. So gonna probably, if the weather's not too hot, try to do some doe management out of this new Chasing Giants blind that we set up over the clover plot. And we got 2 feeders here, but that's not the reason I'm recording today. I want to share with you all some video footage from out of this blind. There it is right there, of Harold Monk and I having a conversation. And 2 weeks ago, Harold was coming through town, and him and his wife, usually when they're coming through town, stay at a campground close to us and we go out to dinner. But we usually never have time to do any more than that. But this year he actually had time to come here to the farm, so I got to give him a kind of a tour of the property. Several of the cameras on this farm are actually take some of the pictures that they use in some of their marketing collateral. So he got to see those setups. But this was his first time on a property that is completely turned over for habitat for deer and hunting strategies. So he was asking a lot of questions, but we took the camera up in the blind because I wanted you guys to see what we talk about all the time, the people behind the brand. And I wanted to record a little bit about Harold's story to share with you all, but it also, he picked my brain on a lot of why I made some of the decisions on the farm that I did. So this video is pretty long. I'm going to play the background of Harold and WiseEye first, and then for those of you who want to stick around and watch the second half of this video, I'm not sure how long it's going to be. It might be 40, 50, 60 minutes. I'm not sure. But you guys can stick around and see where Harold was asking me questions about how Real World got started, different food plot varieties, different things like that. So I want you at least to be able to watch the first segment where it's Harold's story and why they started WiseEye. So hope you guys enjoy. Stay tuned. Well, you're sitting here in a 360 blind that's got Chasing Giants logo on it, wrapped in Osseo camo. You knew us before we were even. I've seen your company. You know, we're sitting here looking at a DC2 pretty much pointing at us right now. I doubt it's going to pick up any movement inside of here to take a picture, but your company has grown just as much. Why in the world did you ever decide to get into the trail camera business?
Well, it was, we actually tried not to get into the trail camera business, to tell you the truth. We actually really fought it hard. We built a software called Hunt Control that was, we started building it actually in 2010. So we were working on the software for about 15 years now. And it was, actually started to actually help the federal government control the pig population. So we had to build a software that could distinguish between the gauntlet was, can you distinguish between a 200-pound pig and a 200-pound bear? And you know, that was the challenge. And so we accepted the challenge and spent many hours, and my son-in-law came to me and said one day, said, let me take a shot at it. And he went out and 3 or 4 days later came back with a computer program and said, watch this. And he had a picture of a deer, and I'm watching on the screen. And as he moved that picture of the deer, this box followed it. And I went, how did you do that? He said, I just read some YouTube videos. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's way more intelligent than I am. And that's where it started. So we built all this stuff, and we were working with the federal government, getting ready for this toxin for the feral pigs in Texas and what have you. Then the USDA decided that, we're not going to deal with that anymore. So I'm holding this hunt control software that we spent all this time and all this development on, with nothing to do with it. And the first thing we decided, well, why don't we just lease it to camera companies? So we were wined and dined by all the major characters when we let them know, and they already knew about hunt control, what we were doing. So we were called in, and Some gave us good steak dinners, and some gave us Wendy's hamburgers, but we were wined and dined and for hunt control. But we just couldn't find the camera that delivered a clear enough picture to give me true analytical data.
Okay.
So that was my problem.
So your picture quality was always a priority because you needed that to get the data that you were developing on software.
And since I worked for a company called Autodesk back then, I had some of the smartest engineers in the world. And so I made some phone calls. I want to build a camera. And they were like, you're out of your mind. You know, so we spent about a year looking for the best lens that you could buy, the best modems you can buy, and put them in a camera. And that's how WiseEye started. Is we'd love to partner with somebody. That wasn't the question. They just couldn't build us a camera that would deliver that picture you get on the box. That I could look at that picture and go, that's the same deer from yesterday, is the same deer from last year. I had to have that picture to have the analytical data, so you can tell when that deer comes out, so you can track him, because we're finding out that deer are very predictable if you leave them alone, and they're very a routine. Even we've got one deer we have on camera that a friend of mine's tracking, and he shows me the data. It's just so fascinating that the deer does not move on a full moon the week before or the week after, but as soon as it hits a waning moon, which is 8 days afterwards, he's in the food plot, which doesn't make sense because I've heard all my life that deer move in a full moon. But this 7-year-old deer does not. So we don't know why.
Every deer is different,
Every
but you
deer is
got the data to match up to it.
Yeah, and we've been doing it for 3 years on him, so we watched that. So we had to have a camera that gave me that clear a picture. And so once we got involved in it, it was like, and then we got to looking at these subscriptions and everything else. It was just, they take advantage of people so bad with these subscriptions because you got 4 subscriptions on 4 cameras. They don't send you money back if you don't pay, you know. So we're trying to figure out how to make the overall experience great for the hunter. His idea, he likes to hunt, he likes to be outside, and just not worried about subscriptions on cameras. It's not what he's looking for.
Well, I remember in 2020, you all were fairly new at that point. I think you all have been in business a couple years, maybe. I actually walked by your booth and didn't even stop on time of the ATA show, but I do remember it because your first generation feeder was in there.
Yeah.
But I got hurt really bad in a tractor accident, and I wanted to help make content for Chasing Giants, which wasn't very big at the time. So I decided probably the biggest mistake I've ever made was buy a bunch of cell cameras from different people and try them out. And I was sitting around a lot. I couldn't do much, so I thought it would be a fun project. It was a horrible project.
Was that the pictures we got you when you walk around dragging a leg?
Yep. Yeah. And so that was the first year that we met. You weren't even in the original test, believe it or not.
Right.
And a guy told me that I needed to put you in there, so I ordered a camera. And when we first talked, we quickly somehow figured out that both of our daughters played very high level fast pitch softball, and that kind of was the connection between you and I. Right. Outside of that, kind of drew up the friendship, but we quickly learned that there was a bigger common bond between both of us, and that was our faith. Absolutely. And how much we just go to the Lord in everything that we do. And I think since that original time, you have become one of my dearest friends, and really appreciate you. But I think that the interesting thing about our relationship is how many times you've tried to give me free cameras and I won't take them. So if you hear the stories about and there's a reason for it. I want this guy to be so successful with this company. I don't want anyone out there to say he gives you free cameras. So I want to say what I want to say about WiseEye and the people behind it and pay for them. And of course, he doesn't like that. So if you watch social media about 2 times a year, I brag at the fact that I can create fake names like Perry Tier and Terrence
Terrence
Pierre,
yeah.
and get cameras out of their shipping department without them knowing it. So
And what we've done, I'm apologize to the people of Dry Creek.
Dry Ridge.
Dry Ridge, yeah. There's no more cameras being shipped to Dry Ridge. We have banned all cameras coming to Dry Ridge because I told them, I said, there's $100 bounty on anybody that can catch a camera that's being bought with a fake name.
I'll start shipping them to my office in Knoxville. I really mess you up.
Yeah, so there's like I said, there's a bounty now on Terrence Pierre's and what have you.
Terrence Pierre's.
In fact, when Megan sent you the wedding invitation for her wedding, I think she put all your aliases on your
She handwrote when his daughter, I got a wedding invitation. It literally had all of my aliases handwritten on the.
We weren't really sure who you were, so we just gonna put them all.
And none of us showed up. Sorry, Megan.
No, but what has driven WiseEye is our faith. Just we can look back, and you've heard the stories about the footprints in the sand. You look back and see all that. We can look back now and see where God has taken us step by step, not letting us overrun our explosion that's happening to our company. We're making sure that the customer is number one. It's not about a transaction, it's about being successful. And I think you see that. I'm more concerned about you being successful with our product than buying a product.
Yeah.
So we look at the market a little different here and how we interact with our customers. I want you to call the office. I don't want you to struggle with the camera. I want you to pick up the phone and call. I got guys there that love to talk. I told a guy the other day, I said, he bought 20 cameras. He said, no, they work fine. I said, have you ever called to get them set up? He said, no. Look, man, my guys are playing cornhole and ping pong. If you don't call the
Your
office.
guys are not doing that. They're too busy.
If you don't call and ask a question, they're finding something else to do. So we've really understood that this was a gift from God for us. Starting back in 2010, this whole process to get where we're at today was not our doing. We were just being very submissive, and we were very let me put it this way. We looked at the book of Proverbs, and in the book of Proverbs, it tells you how to run a company. It really does, to be successful. And that's what we did. We didn't run out and borrow a bunch of money. We did not overpromise things and try to be everything to everybody. The book of Proverbs says you grow a business slow. You don't borrow money, and God will honor it. And that's what we did. And it was tough at times, but the Lord always was faithful. When we would look and say, how are we going to pay for these cameras? It was always there. And I get up every morning. I told you in the car this morning, my prayer this morning was, Lord, thank you for WiseEye, but man, I don't know what I'm doing today. I'm more of an engineer. I'm not a businessman. Help me today. I'm going to learn something today about business and help me understand it. And so it's a family operation. My 86-year-old father is still there. In fact, he was unloading a truck the other day. I don't need my dad up in the back of a trimmer. But Dad is 86 years old. He'll outwork anybody in that place. And he'll give them a 10-minute break, and then he'll go back out there and tell them how to get back in the truck. I got a brother, a sister, brother-in-laws. I got all 3 daughters here, 2 son-in-laws, 3 cousins, nephews. So it is a family business. And we have just been blessed beyond our wildest dreams to be involved with people like you and Brother Don. As our footprint grows, we're running into people of true faith and what have you. It's just a blessing to see that it's here. No matter how bad the world gets, there is a core Christians here, and they're around the hunting industry, which is so good. And we have just become to love this family of Chasing Giants and Don and just being around them because I need that sometimes to step away and just be able to talk. We had a great conversation last night after dinner, just 2 brothers talking about about faith in God and the struggles that we run into every day, because we do live in a world that doesn't follow all the biblical standards sometimes, and we have to be able to maneuver through that based on biblical principles. And I read Proverbs all the time, and there's some things in there I read 2 or 3 times and going, I missed that one. So, but yeah, it's been such a godsend for us to do what we do at WiseEye, and we love doing your shows. We look forward to the Sunday night prayer session. We look forward to it. I'm already planning a month before the next one, so I'm getting ready for it, and it's really been a blessing to be involved in something like, and to come see something like this just is undescribable, Terry. To see
We'll have to get you out to Don's and my farm out in Illinois, and you can see how to do this on a pancake. So we're in rolling hills here. We wouldn't call it mountains like Eastern Ohio by any means, but rolling hills. And then you see how we put in a plan even on a pancake, like out at Don's. So it's every property has a little bit of a challenge, but I'm really glad, from the very beginning when you and I struck up a friendship and I started using WiseEyes, you're like, we got to get Don to try these. We got to get Don to try these. And Don was so jaded by how many bad cameras he tried, he didn't want to do it. But when he got to know you and your brother, that's when he said, hey, I'd really like to see good Christian guys successful. I'll give it a shot. But he wasn't going to say anything. He didn't even tell anybody that he bought your cameras in Iowa.
He kind of slipped up incognito at the booth so nobody would see him getting cameras.
And then he started immediately saying, wow, these pictures. And then what was really proof in the pudding is when the WiseEye picked up pictures that the Reconics didn't. And that's when he started saying, Terry, we got something here. I was like, I've been telling you this for 3 years now, Don.
Right.
But you guys are still continually innovating, coming up with new stuff that we'll continue to try to feed out to people. Right. But I think at this point, we're going to continue to be honest. And Don just did a video, and he basically said, here's where you and Reconic score. And what the amazing part of it is that you guys had a camera that was neck and neck with Reconics for a third of the price. Right. And hopefully you've gotten good feedback from that, and more things coming. But the interesting thing is Harold has actually asked to be partnered with Chasing Giants at different points, and I said no. Me down. I said no. I think the best thing for this is for you not to be.
Correct.
But when he heard about my dad's podcast, Chasing Assurance, you're like, this is non-negotiable. We're going to be part of this ministry for the kingdom. And
in fact, I was going to change my name. It's going to be Merrill Hunk.
Merrill Hunk.
To send you a check to be part of it. So we had already planned that too. If you.
So but that was a direct. That has no business aspiration in it whatsoever. You and your brother and your entire family just want to invest in the kingdom, and we really appreciate that. But
I appreciate Don's feedback, and some people saw it and thought it was kind of negative. I didn't take negative out of it at all. Every show we go to, my wife and I have decided that we want to do the trade shows because I want to talk to the customer. I want you to walk up to me and say, Mr. Monk, I have a problem here. And let me know about the problem so I can fix it. And we were in Bloomington, Illinois last week at the Deer and Beer Festival. We sold more cameras at that show than we ever have at a show. And every person walked up to them, I asked them, do you have any problems with the cameras? No, sir. I said, no, you've got to have something wrong with the camera. What do you not like? The cameras work great. And I'm thinking, you're not helping me here. I'm trying to make the cameras better. So Don's feedback on things that we need to work on, we're already working on them. And we should have him something by the end of the year that will take care of 90% of his concerns. So if I want to hear back from you, it's not like criticism doesn't hurt me. Proverbs says, criticizing makes you stronger. And steel sharpens steel. I need that feedback. So that it doesn't hurt me to have criticism. We're looking forward to it so I can be better. And that's what I'm looking forward to. So,
For me, no, I don't want criticism. I'm only saying, no, I'm just kidding.
No, it's just a matter of, you know, the only criticism I have is you don't use your real name. It's kind of hard for me to track. I can't send you criticism because I don't know which one you are.
Goodness gracious.
So Merrill Hunk was really almost
Merrill Hunk
was fixing to send you a check so we can get it, so we can pay for your podcast.
My dad's gonna get that check and say, "Who is Merrill Hunk?
Who is this guy?"
Oh well, but
this is an absolute.
I appreciate you coming. Hopefully next time you come here and you're sitting in this blind, it's going to be in some Osseous camo with a Brenton 6mm arc with a suppressor. And
that'd be fun.
We're whacking and stacking does and a big old buck. So you're invited back anytime you want to see if you can help me continue the management plan.
I'm the kind of guy. I've passed the mounting stage. Marlene's not gonna let me mount anymore here. So if I had a 7-year-old buck walk here, I would take a picture with my camera. I wouldn't shoot it. It's just I'm now at that stage that I live through other people's stories and deer and what have you. Now I'll still take the backstrap. You can still shoot it, and I'll take the backstrap.
Southern boy gonna have some deer chili. That's
yeah. You gotta have spaghetti and deer chili in the backstrap. The rest of it's mounting it on the wall. But Terry, I appreciate this. This is being out here is a blessing beyond what you understand from me, because I don't get to see this kind of stuff. You know, I sit behind a desk helping customers all day long and ordering cameras and making sure resellers have what they need and taking care of business, which is important. But being out here just in God's country and seeing nature at its fullest is just incredible. You know, so I appreciate you letting me see this while I'm out here. I
say we go get Marlene and let her try some Skyline chili for lunch.
Isn't that chili that's got the
cheese
and the meat? Oh, that sounds. I'm in. I had the fried chicken last night, so let's go try the chili.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, buddy. I've never thought of planning to where you can see you can't get in and out of the ladder. I've never seen something like that. That is so cool. Because I saw it on the a drone. I think you had a picture of it, and I had.
So to get miscanthus up this high, that's a 3-year process.
Oh,
so a lot of times using the annual screen or corn is your temporary while the miscanthus is getting big enough.
Well, yeah, I mean this lilo, whatever you call it, it's 10 foot tall.
Yeah, it's got Egyptian wheat and then some Sudan grass and then some sorghum.
And all that comes from the real world family.
Yeah, we've tried to be every single product that a hunter needs to manage a habitat. We try to have a variety of it.
Now explain to me about the clover. I'm looking at this nice clover field. This is a great football field to play in. You said there's 4 types of clover in here.
And then a little bit of chicory. So
why 4 types of clover?
So it goes back to when Real World first was started. They had captive deer. And what would happen is they had test strips of different clover to see what deer liked better. But what they accidentally found is during different times of the year, they would turn the deer loose in the pasture side of the pen, and at different times of the year, the deer would eat different test strips. It wasn't that they always went to a ladino clover, or they always went to a white clover, or they always went to a red clover. It varied. So what they started doing is when they saw the deer gravitate to a certain strip of test product, they would go in and do a tissue analysis right behind him. And then they started seeing statistical data of where certain things in the tissue analysis were spiked every time the deer was in that strip.
All right.
So it's basically using statistical data to figure out what a deer likes to eat. We can't ask a deer, say, do you like a ribeye or do you like a fillet or a strip? We can't ask a deer that. So we use statistical data to say, okay, they're eating out of this and it was spiked in this, but next month when we have drier conditions, they're eating out of this, or in the fall, they're eating out of this. And it was that period of time we basically were able to put enough data together to say deer like varieties or plants that are spiking in certain things in a tissue analysis. And then a deer always eats the weakest link. So you see like a horse will chew the side of a barn or a fence post or bark.
Right.
They're lacking something in their diet when they're doing that. A deer will do the same thing. So when you have a variety of all the different plants and species that are on this farm, something's always going to be filling that weakest link that they can go to.
I got you.
I mean, Dr. Strickland from Mississippi State Deer Lab, they have data that shows all of this food plot, but yet a deer's over there eating a briar.
Right, right.
It's because something's in that briar that they're missing or lacking.
Gotcha.
So a deer will balance their diet. So what we did with clover is we started growing these different clovers and saying, we made a Gantt chart. You're an engineer, so you had Gantt charts your whole career. So we made a Gantt chart and said, okay, this variety spikes in those certain things in these conditions or this time of the year. So when we build a blend, we build it to where there's always every part of the year something spiking in those specific. That's our secret sauce.
Okay.
Everybody wants us to tell them the varieties inside of it.
Right.
We tell them half of the story because that's the secret sauce we've put together.
Sure.
Is the specific varieties. There's probably 12 varieties of Ladino clover. People don't realize that.
Wow.
But so we put those in. So all times of the year, we're looking at this clover. This is a first-year clover. I just planted that this spring, and it should be knee-high right now. But we've had such a drought, it's only about 6 inches tall and a lot of blooms.
Right.
So what I need to do is the next time we have rain, right after we have rain, I'll come in and just nip the tops. What happens with all this clover is that plant, the way God created it, it's grow, then reproduce.
Okay.
When you switch to the reproduction stage where that plant is wanting to produce seed, all of the feed values go down in the plant because it wants to grow the bloom in the seed. So what we do is we nip the top of this bloom off, and then you have fresh growth, which is what has the highest feed value, soluble protein, and all the other things that we like to see in the tissue analysis.
So instead of letting clover grow a foot tall, you keep it,
nip the tops off and have that fresh growth. That's what has the most nutrients. If you go into the woods and you look at woody browse like you guys probably have in Louisiana, you'll see in the winter or late winter, since you all don't get crazy cold, you'll go in and look in these little twig stem trees that will never survive, but it's got that little bulb on the end, and every one will be nipped off. That fresh growth has the most nutrient-rich stuff on the plant. So that's what they eat.
So you take this down, how many times a year do you take it down?
Depends on the weather and the weeds. I try to minimize how much herbicide we put on anything. Herbicides, it's dealing with the devil, I think. It's not safe for people spraying it, coming in contact with it, and I don't like the deer having it, but it is a necessary evil sometimes. To control your grasses and clover, mowing is the best solution because clover will bush out and choke out grass.
Choke out the weeds,
So, I got a little grassy spot right there, not too far from the feeder. If we had
you get some rain here.
If we had rain and I whack that off, that clover will fill in.
And do you have to plant this every year, or is this
comes back every year?
Every year.
So what will happen this winter is the deer will absolutely destroy this. This will be the last green product left on the farm except for the fall plot over here. So this will this will be bad. It'll look like a cattle pasture. So then what I do is in February, I come in and frost seed it, and you basically broadcast in about 5 pounds an acre of a rate over all of this. And then that seed will be the first to germinate in front of a weed. And then you have fresh growth. So if you frost seed effectively in a clover plot, you mow it, and you keep the weeds at bay, whether it's by mowing or using a clethodim type select herbicide, you can keep clover for years.
Well, let me ask you this question. I don't see the #1 food plot that we use in Louisiana here. Ryegrass. You don't see it. And is there a reason why I don't see ryegrass here? It's maybe a personal preference, but I don't see it on this farm that's raising big deer.
So we use cereal grains, which rye is a cereal grain. But in this part of the country, we plant that as a cover crop in the fall. So what's going to happen over where you see all this corn to my right, that's going to be overseeded with a cereal grain with a drone when this corn completely dries. So it'll be a green carpet underneath of that corn. So when I bush hog that corn for the deer to eat, it's going to look like it's on top of a football field with it being green.
I got you.
Rye is a lot better drought tolerant, so you see it in southern states more. Mm-hmm. I actually prefer winter barley.
Okay.
And I experimented the field right behind us. I did a test last year on a product called triticale, which is a forage of a hybrid between oats and rye that dairy farmers use. And I really like the tissue analysis of the feed value that was in it versus anything else. It's pretty expensive, but this farm will have triticale and barley on it over the winter. So same principle about what you all have is rye. There is a rye grass and there is a rye cereal grain. Most people don't understand the difference. Ryegrass is grass for like your yard. But the cereal grain where it produces that big head once it comes mature, where you guys probably have farmers that double crop. They'll raise like wheat and then come in and do soybeans, or maybe they'll even do 2 corn plantings a year that far south. We can't do that because of the growing season and the temperatures. But this farm historically was a tobacco field where we're sitting right now. So after they would cut the tobacco off of it, they would spread winter wheat.
I got you.
Which is the same as a rye is another cereal grain. Rye, barley, oats, and wheat are your 4 main cereal grains.
So some of us a novice like I am, what would I start with to where we start, like I said, ryegrass. That's all we know is we go in October, we till the grass, and we just throw the ryegrass out there and throw a little fertilizer, and then we hope it grows. Mm-hmm. And that's the extent of some of our food plots. And so where would a novice like me start to build something like this?
So the key to everything we want to do is diversity. We don't want to hedge our bet on one thing, because if we're novices and we screw something up, all our eggs are in one basket. So what we like to do is do blends of different things. So we have a product called Harvest Salad, which has 3 cereal grains in it. So if the conditions for that year aren't as good for barley as they are oats, you still got something there.
Okay.
And then what I would do in your all's area is I would go to the local farmer or a local southern states and ask what kind of soybeans they have left over and buy them for pennies on the dollar. And with as warm as you all are, I would throw about 10 pounds an acre of soybeans in there, or winter peas would be another thing. Since you all don't have a frost usually, if you do, it's much later.
It's Christmas time.
The attraction that legume. So a soybean is part of the legume family versus the grass family. The palatability and the attraction of a legume mixed in with that, it's a game changer.
So we haven't planted our food plots yet. Mm-hmm. So instead of doing ryegrass, and because it's pretty, it's green, and you think the deer's got to go there to eat it, but if the nutrition value is there, you're telling me they'll go find something else to eat.
While that specific ryegrass isn't peaking in those things that it likes, they go and find it. So I put more diversity in that plot to make sure that they have a choice of everything. You
got just that one food source.
So we got a product we made for southern states called Dixie Dozen, and it has 12 varieties that you go in there, and rye is one of them.
Right.
But you go in and broadcast that in there, and all of that, number one, if you have a failure or something that doesn't work because of conditions that year, you got other things already there.
I got you.
The second thing is that deer always has something that they're attracted to while they're there.
Some nutrition value they're looking for is there.
That way they're not on the neighbor, because the neighbor might have some crazy clover that happens to be peaked in that time of year. But you guys down in Louisiana have such a long growing season that it's...
Yeah, I mean, we're still running around at Christmas in short pants. I mean, so we still have quite a bit of time, because it's so hard to plant in the summertime, just because of the heat. It's just unbearable. I mean, the heat index yesterday, and this is closer for September, but the heat index yesterday was 106, 107. So it pretty much bakes everything that's not. The only thing we really have good success with is like sugar cane, because it's built for that type of heat. So when we start planting real hard here in the middle of September, October, we still got 3 months of growing season, 90 days of growing. So I'm real interested in this clover. I may talk my brother into doing something like this instead of just throwing ryegrass out there and hope it comes up, to see, because this comes back every year.
Yep. Yeah, if you can get it to live through that summer. Now our clover has a little bit of chicory in it,
Right.
and chicory thrives in really hot conditions.
I know it's great. It's great coffee too.
But it does not have the feed value the rest of the time. So the reason we put a little bit in it is it takes some of that browse pressure while the clover's kind of struggling and not booming. It gives something for those deer to eat.
I got you.
In the heat of the summer months. But there's only like 3% of it in there. I bet if we walked that plot, we would not even find 3% of those plants of chicory. It's very, very little.
So, I mean, it's so much here to learn, and one day might grow this place. Now, talk to me about the corn a little bit. I noticed that the corn, when we walk through the field, is very, very deep orange. It's not a yellow that we see when we plant corn around where we're at. We can pull up this bright yellow. It's like, looks like gold. This corn here is almost a pumpkin orange. I mean, it's very. Why is
So
that?
it's not like that until it starts drying down.
Okay.
The drier it gets, the darker it gets. But that's basically the high oil. So the high oil and high protein of the NutriCrave, it's a non-GMO high oil corn. In a situation like this, that corn works perfect, because if you just tried to do a corn plot like that as the only food source, there's that same feed value in the green leaf material. The deer would actually eat the plant.
Not the corn.
But there's so much alfalfa and soybeans and clover here, they're not really even touching that. There's not even any damage in there.
We walked through the corn. My concern was I don't even think the deer are here eating.
So basically that's an investment into more of the late season when those deer need another food source. And the beauty of NutriCrave is I get more protein and more fat. Not only is that an attraction, but it's also a health benefit. You know, as those deer run through the rut, they get worn down, they lose all of that muscle mass and fat. The better I can keep their weight up, that's less stress they have in February, March, and April, that energy then goes to antler development versus building muscle mass back. I want to keep those deer, even though they're running like crazy and they're not worried about eating for the whole rut, I want to keep their body mass up as much as I can through supplemental feeding, through food plots, and a lot of different varieties. I mean, we're sitting here on top of this hill, and I can't tell you how many varieties of food that we even have within rifle range right here.
Well, I was going to say, this is a grocery store. I mean, we're not used to seeing this layout, you know, in the South as much as I see it up here.
Well, but this is your first time on a deer,
deer,
like a farm dedicated to deer hunting.
Yes.
I mean, you've been to some of the big ranches in Texas, but that's sage and feeding, and that's a different type of management.
Yeah, well, you know, down there in South Texas, you know, they have to supplement them because of the drought and drought conditions. Someplace I was at in South Texas, they average 5 inches of rain a year. So in order to keep the population healthy, it has to be strictly a lot of protein.
But this is your first time on a property that has been pretty much just set up for hunting.
Designed for hunting, and it's impressive to say the least. I'm overwhelmed with. I mean, you look here. I see there's about a 3 foot something of millet, and there's 3 foot something else, and then I've got a soybean field. So you can drive or walk down through here as the deer are in the soybean field. They have no idea you slipped in here on top of them.
Right.
And when you slip out, you can slip out of here. They can't see you go down the ladder because you've got this thing cordoned off with.
Early and late season hunting, it's not as much about getting in as it is getting out.
Yes.
Because if we were sitting here It gets dark here right now at 9:15. If we were sitting here at 8 o'clock, we would have 35 deer within eyesight of us
And
right
the worst
now.
thing you want to do is open the door
And
close it.
we do not want to blow all of them out and start creating, oh, well, there's something that goes wrong in that big Osseo box that's sticking up in the air
The nice
right over
Osseo,
there.
nice
So we're
Osseo.
gonna go in and feed at 3 a.m. now instead of
Right.
an hour before dark.
And then that's the habit they won't break.
Correct. We want to. I think the biggest thing that people kind of try to do wrong on properties they're hunting is they go in and they look for the deer sign as it is today and say there's a scrape or there's a rub, I need to be able to hunt there.
Right.
What we try to do with properties like this that's dedicated that we lay out is we pick a place that we can get to, and then we manipulate the habitat around it to funnel the deer, in a case like this. And it might be something as simple as a hog panel. Those are 16 footers that are overlapping about a foot, so that's 30 feet of hog panel that I'm going to raise raspberries on. Well, the raspberries the deer are going to eat.
Right.
If the birds let it go. I don't know if I'll be able to get it, but I'm going to try it. But just something like that as a trellis might make a deer walk around the corner of that versus and give me the right shot angle.
Because you're not shooting him head on. You're actually making him turn to eat on the backside of the trellis.
So it's everything kind of has a purpose, and it's a lot of studying of aerials. It's a lot of understanding how deer use topography and wind to manipulate. And like this property, a lot of it was I took bedding out and put it in a different place.
Okay.
So I didn't want to push all my deer out, so I had to wait for that bedding to develop a 3-year project before I took it out over here.
So how long was this project here that I'm looking at this? How long has this project been going on here?
This is probably going to be the 4th season since the original, and the plan's been tweaked. I'm not smart enough to say this is it, and I'm never going to tweak it. There's some things that I just didn't like how they turned out an idea, so we changed them. The orchards were put in this year, so those are first year trees this year. I wish I would have done that 2 years ago.
I got you.
What I didn't do right, looking back on it, is I didn't put my long time investment stuff into first. So I should have looked at this and said, okay, it's a 5-year project. The products that I need that take the longest, the fruit trees, the miscanthus, I should have done that year 1 and made that my investment.
Right.
But I wanted to hunt, so you put in the what you need to hunt, and what it's done is now I'm at the end of the 4-year project and I have first year trees. I mean, if we were sitting here and these trees were loaded with apple and pears, it'd be a whole different ball game right now, and further along. So I mean, you look back and always think of stuff you could have done different, but yeah, I'm glad you got to see the photo spot that's been on the back of one of the camera boxes. There's one spot over the hill behind us that I don't know why it is, but the sunlight there, the pictures it takes, it looks like a painting. And you guys have used quite a bit of them.
We've used it's practically on the box, I think.
I think it's on the first data cam.
It was on the box itself. We're waiting on him to grow, so we're waiting on the next picture to put on the
I haven't
box.
seen that deer since that year, so I'm not sure what happened to him. But yeah, it's so you got to see that part, and I don't know how many WiseEye cameras are on this place, but
there's quite a few.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think there's 8 on just what we've been at, right? It's what you've seen so far, and you've only seen about 2/3 of the farm.
Yeah. So let me ask you one more question here. What is the potential? How many acres you have here?
Right at 100 on the track that we're on now.
So
you
you don't
total about 130.
So you don't need 2,000 acres to kill a good deer.
No, I've shot a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 5-year-old. Those are the 3 bucks I've taken off this property.
Okay.
So I can get your age structure. Now, a lot of that depends on your neighbors. Since I took the last deer on the property to the north, there's a group from out of state that leases it. It's about a 70-acre tract, and 6 people hunt it.
Oh,
So I have seen a drop in the number of older bucks, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to be here. The big thing is Kentucky gives us the opportunity to hunt in September,
okay.
and you guys see it with analytic data of hunt control. But in early season, what we found, at least in this area, is bucks bed extremely close to food sources in the summer.
Okay.
And that's why I told you, when we went around that backside of that soybean, we probably had 30 deer within 100 yards of us, right there.
Several of them watching us drive. You know?
Could have been. So they know we're there, even though we don't know where they're at. But in early season hunting and in late season hunting, they bed really close. Now, on a 100-acre property, there's no way I can keep bucks on here during the rut. They're miles, right?
They're traveling.
But with Kentucky, you know, being able to hunt that first Saturday in September, if you identify and find a good buck, he's bedded really close to where you're seeing him come out.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get close to him with the right wind direction, it's really, really probably one of your best chances. The same goes in the late season if you're the only food source there.
Right.
So this farm honestly isn't real great in the rut. It's long and narrow. Deer travel a lot, but I'm trying to make it better, holding more does here with more bedding and then more diverse food. But I think it's going to get better as time goes on. But so a small property like that, being able to over 8-year periods, you know, shoot 3 bucks.
Wow.
That old, and the oldest being a 7-year-old.
That's impressive. To have one. Now, what about do you calculate the buck doe ratio here, or does it matter on a small plot?
Believe it or not, I've never shot a doe on this farm, and we're going to whack them this year.
Oh.
We're going to play whack-a-mole with does this year. I have that new Brenton 6mm arc with a suppressor on here.
Okay.
And we need to take some does. That's one of the things that I've really neglected. But here's the thing: you kill the does with this type of habitat, more does move in.
Right.
But it's just from the amount of deer that I'm feeding, I need to kill some does.
Well, then you bring in fresh DNA when that happens.
I don't know that you can control it that much in a wild herd. Maybe the people down in the big ranches in Texas can control that.
Mm-hmm.
In a small property like this, with so much connected wooded cover, it's even harder than like at Don's area out in open ag field, because he's got one pocket and then it's 6 miles to the next woodlot because it's open ag. But I do think that doe management is really, really important. I just think it gets a little bit out of proportion to say I need a 3-to-1, 1-to-1, unless you're in huge acreage where you can control. Because I don't know what that neighbor's doing. I don't know what neighbor's doing. And when you look at what I've developed here, if I kill 10 does on the property and I do a thermal survey year after year after year, it's probably not going to vary by more than 3 or 5 deer from year to year.
Yeah, you've built a paradise here for deer. So even if they're pressure put on that 70 acres, they're coming here.
That's what I want.
Yeah, they're coming here. This is, I mean, this is a supermarket.
No intrusion and everything the deer needs. So the more I can keep them here in daylight hours, meaning bedded, you know, I don't care if they go over to that neighbor at 3 a.m. As long as he's not breaking the law, that deer's going to stay alive.
Right.
What I don't want them doing is coming here at 3 a.m. to feed because they're bedded over there. Yes. I have to create better bedding here to get them to stay here during the day. What I don't want is them bedding 3/4 of a mile away, walking past 2 trail cameras and 3 tree stands to get to me to feed at 3 a.m. That's not what I want. I want them bedding here. So, you know, we own a food plot seed company, and I'm telling you that it starts with bedding.
Right. So all right, let's talk about bedding. I'm looking out here, kind of to my left out here. And you're trying to build that as a bedding area.
So that's a balance of wooded bedding and grown-up underbrush. So you hear us talk a lot about grown-up cattle pastures. That whole hillside used to be where the dairy cows used to come out and graze, and then there was a fence where that shelf is. And this was the tobacco and alfalfa field. So the cattle ran between this lip and the wood line.
Okay.
So all of the woods have been TSI'd. I've taken all the non-valuable timber out of that, and that undergrowth has grown up. And then I've also left basically grassy briars that get sunlight. So this tall stuff that's up chest high that we went around and saw, I want that. So I'll actually mulch that every probably 4 years, 3 to 4 years, to keep the trees and the cedars at bay and keep this tall, nasty stuff, because there's deer bedded in there right now.
Right. So, I mean, that's the, not the environment, but that's the growth that we're looking for, is just thick, something they can hide.
Sometimes deer want to bed in timber and in the shade. Sometimes, like a buck, they like laying out in that sun and getting that heat on the antlers, getting that blood flow when it's in velvet. We're past that stage right now. And in the winter, you want that because that's where the sun beats down on them and keeps them, And I love the topography right here because, if we have a southwest wind and that wind is really blowing across, there'll be deer stacked in just off the knoll of that where the wind's going up over them. They'll use it as a windbreak too.
That's just so fascinating because we'll have these little pouches of briars, and there'll be 5 or 6 does laid up in that one little spot because thick. So you create them.
So all of that was really overgrown trees last year, and all of this side got bush hogged this year. Okay. So that's 1 year of growth that you're looking at right there.
Wow. So you let that go for about 3 or 4 years, and then you would go back and till it again.
Yeah, so when the trees and the cedars get big enough, they start choking out the grasses. That's when you cut it and turn it. So my thought is I have 3 different areas. So the one way back there is the furthest along. That's what I started 3 years ago.
Right. That's what the big
and then
stuff.
the next section's 2 years, and then this one was this year. So every 3 years I cut one of the 3. That way I always have 2 of the 3 standing.
Right.
So it's like a cycle.
Right. Huh. Well, explain to me about, we drove around and I saw these ropes hanging in the trees. We don't have ropes hanging in our trees. What significance is that holding deer in such a paradise here?
Nothing. They would make a scrape on the overhanging limb that would be there anyway.
Okay. All right.
I'm not sure. Don was not the originator of the rope scrape. I think he gets credit for it a lot, but he's probably the one that made it more well known. But some of his mentors kind of came up with the rope scrape. People use grapevines. People use pine tree limbs. What I like about the rope scrape is it holds a lot of scent. So if I'm using a certain type of scent for attraction, I can put that on there and it basically creates a lot of deer coming to it. It's like the Facebook check-in of the farm. You go in and they rub. It's a great way to get inventory pictures. It has to be, number one, in a place that a deer wants to scrape. People go and just hang a rope.
I can't hang a rope out here in the middle of this clover.
If a deer doesn't want to scrape there, he's not going to scrape there. Okay. The second thing people do is they go to Amazon and they buy a spool of this hemp rope and they put it up this time of year. There is such a strong chemical smell in that. Even if we can't smell it, think about it. They know something's up. So you got to season those ropes. So we make up 6-foot sections of it and coil them up and put them in the tree in the backyard. We just coil them up and lay them up in the tree or on the clothesline and season them. That way they're ready for the following year. If I wanted to make a mock scrape this time of year to hunt over, I'm going to go find a pine tree and cut a limb out of it.
But not use a rope because
and I'm gonna take that limb with a pair of shears, one that's maybe the size of my middle or my pointy finger. And I'm going to take it to an area where I want, say, that rope scrape, and I'm going to zip tie that pine tree up in that branch, leaving it hang down about where that is, and then I can put scent on it. You'll notice that a lot of mine, it's bare underneath.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big ball spot underneath.
Yeah, so I actually spray a herbicide there in April with a residual.
You make the ball spot there for him.
Yeah, okay. And then in the summer come in and rake that dead thatch out of, and then picture after picture after picture. But I think the 2 things people do wrong is, number one, they put them in a spot that a deer doesn't want to rub or doesn't want to scrape, and then number 2, they use a rope straight out of the store. they have to be seasoned. So if you're doing it this late, I would use a pine tree.
Talk to me about what you put on that, something on the ground.
I think some of it drips out, but you can use a natural or a synthetic lure. They have both out there. If we're using a natural, we use a product called Smokies. He's a trapper in West Virginia, and he builds or makes a bottled rope scrape formula. And then we have a synthetic that we've been testing that we're trying to see if it's better or worse. But I'm actually running some tests. A couple of them that you went by today had that product on. So
I mean, I've read things about deer rub them. It's kind of the Starbucks. They all go there. That's how they communicate. With the deer communicate through scent. So this is where they're kind of, that's the hub of where they communicate.
There's a theory out there that right before the rut, that you can go in there and put a natural gland lure on it, and the other bucks think that that's a new buck in their town.
Really?
So they're on their feet more. It sounds good for a newspaper article, but
that sounds good for an article,
a magazine.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it's true or it's not true. I don't know. But what I have found is once you put the first batch of lure on there, so many deer hit it time after time. You don't need another lure.
So you don't just
the deer continue to basically leave the scent on there.
So something you don't go in every week and put lure on there.
Once a year.
I guess the deer would think that's not natural and it's not right.
I don't know that I think it depends on the product. I'm more concerned about the human intrusion. If it's someplace like on this farm where I can drive the tractor or the truck up to it and about hang out the window and do it and get out, no problem. I put it on every week. If it's something where I'm back in a hunting property and I'm trying to use that rope scrape as maybe a place for them to stop, say you're on a trail, you hang a rope scrape there just for them to stop to give you a shot opportunity in the woods on a rut funnel. I'm not going in that rut funnel every week and putting that spray there. So I think it's a case by case basis. But
what I have noticed here is that you created bedding areas that are in the correct wind direction of your stand.
Absolutely.
And you just didn't say, well, I'm going to put a bedding area here. There's a lot of thought process to put that area here with the prevailing wind coming from this direction so you can get to the stand. It's not like, let's just make a thicket here for bedding areas. And so
the angles, you got to play the angles. And this is a 100-acre property, which some people would call that a big property.
You know what I live on? I got a third of an acre.
Yeah. But I still can't hunt this farm with an east wind. You can't.
Because they bust you one time, you're done.
I'm done
for the rest of the year.
So I can get up in the barn and
watch
glass, when the corn's not here.
Right. But
there's just no hunting. And if the conditions aren't right and the wind's not right, that buck will know you're here before you know he's here. So you got to give what the farm takes. Pick your access spots to where you can get to for the most wins, and then build your habitat around it. And I mean, there was guys that were here when we did the content day a couple weeks ago that hadn't been on this place. Austin Razor was here. He hadn't been on this place since we put that 360 blind up last year, and he didn't recognize it. I mean, that's how much this place has basically evolved as time goes on. So. Yeah, it's a lot of studying, and we use Onyx for all of our plans for the people that we work with, and literally you just start drawing. Okay, this condition and this condition, but if you looked at this aerial of this farm, and you would not have noticed this swell here and saw the 4 trails that come in just on this little swell where the deer come up, which is what we're setting 28 yards from. If they pop into this field, they get shot with a bow if we want to shoot them.
Right. That's just amazing to see this place. It's I can't wait to see the deer to come out of here in a couple of years. Because you've got a couple 3-year-olds on camera, so we got about another 4 years to get.
You've been watching my pictures?
Yeah, that's what I have to live. You have to understand. I was in Michigan the other day, and I told a guy, he asked what's the biggest deer I killed, and I told him I killed a 200 class deer, and he was like impressed. He said, I can't can I see a picture of it? I said, we don't keep pictures of deer like that. And he went on to, I went on to explain to him, I said, we in Louisiana where we hunt, we score deer quite different than you guys score here. We add the weights and the horns together. To go for 200. So my deer weighed 140 pounds, and it scored a 60. So I had killed a 200 class deer. So, so that's the way we score.
That's why all those people come to the Midwest to hunt.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
Different type of hunting up here.
Yeah. Well, like I said, where we're at, we can kill 5 does in 2 bucks. So I think our wildlife and fisheries have kind of done us some. When they went in and said you couldn't kill anything under a 4-point. And so we have some DNA issues there that you can have a 5-year-old that's
your
a 3-point.
genetic superior bucks are getting killed as yearlings and 2-year-olds.
Well, you have a first year 6-point come out and he's down on the ground, but a 5-year-old spike, twisted horn, we call them cow horn spikes, can go around and breed all he wants to because it's illegal to shoot him. Yeah. So I mean, you have to balance that a little bit. And here you can manage that to where, we're kind of told what we can shoot and what we can't shoot in Louisiana. So we have so many deer there. That's why they can shoot 5 does, every year, and that keeps the back strap in the spaghetti going for us. So